Can Scotland survive on its own? A case study. Slovakia. Over the past 6 years, it has bamboozled me to watch Brexit take effect upon the United Kingdom, to have freedoms taken away from us, to be told that it is for our own benefit. Yet the people who call Europe a Nazi dictatorship, an empire which doesn't allow any control, are now doing the exact same thing to Scotland, which was shown through Scotland's lack of control of its borders during COVID, where the government did detrimental damage both to its population, killing about 160,000, as well as also causing huge economic damage to the country. Herd immunity was a policy led by the Westminster government to essentially allow the disease of COVID to spread through the community without really any scientific evidence to back up the consequences of that. If you don't believe me, just have a listen to these 3 clips.
Building up a herd immunity within the UK. What sort of percentage of people need to have contracted the virus?
Probably about 60% or so. And we think that this virus is likely to be one that comes back year on year, become like a seasonal virus, and communities will become immune to it. And that's going to be an important part of controlling this longer term.
60%?
60% is the sort of figure you need to get herd immunity.
To try and reduce the peak, broaden the peak, not to suppress it completely. Also, because most people, the vast majority of people, get a mild illness, to build up some degree of herd immunity as well, so that more people are immune to this disease and we reduce the transmission. At the same time, we protect those who are most vulnerable from it. Those are the key things we need to do.
Take it on the chin, take it all in one go, and allow the disease, as it were, to move through the population. Without really taking as many draconian measures, I think we need to strike a balance. I think it's very important. We've got a fantastic NHS.
On top of that, you've got the economic damage that's being created by Brexit, and this is where I come in to suggest actually there is a way forward with all of this for Scotland. And it's actually looking at the country of Slovakia, which has had a very similar set of circumstances to Scotland, but I think Scotland are in a better place to be able to thrive from being back into the EU than to be staying within the United Kingdom. So we start from 1989, where we have the end of communist rule in Eastern Europe, and we have the creation of Czechoslovakia as a fully independent nation from communist rule, and Russian interference and control. And similar to Britain today, it's run as a federal state. So there are 2 governing bodies. There's the Slovakian Parliament and there's the Czech Parliament. On the 17th of July 1992, the Prime Minister of Slovakia declared itself a sovereign state, which meant that its laws took precedent over those of the federal government. And by January 1st, 1993, they had become separate countries, and this is sometimes known as the Velvet Divorce. By the 29th of March 2004, they were a member of NATO, and by the 1st of May 2004, they were in the European Union. So this means it's taken about 11 years for Slovakia to become independent and then to join the European Union. But there's significant differences to this and Scotland. Scotland has already been a member of the EU, which means its laws, its economics are already heavily tied and similar to that of the EU, as well as requirements to become a member of the EU. So from a perspective of Scotland rejoining, I think there's a number of advantages that it'll have over Slovakia. I think that because of its political and economic ties, that gives it an advantage. But I'm also in little to no doubt that the EU will want to get Scotland in as quickly as possible, and will do a lot of work in order to get the Scottish economy up and running, to show people that actually being in the EU is more beneficial. It will be to their advantage politically to show that being a member is an advantage, and that this will be a great case study to prove that point. Scotland will also have a number of financial advantages. It's already got a thriving economic system and banking system and business system, within Scotland. It's the 15th largest in the world, whereas Slovakia had to change from its communist state into a capitalist state, which obviously is going to take more work and have to be built from scratch. There are obvious advantages to that as well, because you're able to draw on what people have done in the past and learn from their mistakes. Scotland also has significant mineral resources and a thriving tourist industry. Salmon, whiskey, oil, gold, all these natural resources are available to Scots at present, which could therefore be used to spur on the economy, something that Slovakia didn't have. However, there are other similarities. So, for example, population size, the fact that it's in a federal government. So there are similarities to be taken. That being said, it's really interesting to look at the Slovakian government and how much it increased its economic and GDP output by joining the EU. And the similarities between the two countries are there. So in 2007, Slovakia signed up to the Lisbon Treaty. We then start to see the growth in the Slovakian economy. One of the key problems and flaws of Brexit is that we have actually put up trade barriers and tariffs to the EU, our biggest exporter and importer, which is our neighbour geographically and historically. This is just unheard of, and this is the potential that Scotland has to release. You can sell into a market of Englishmen who have control over your borders, your military, and a number of other areas, or you can control it and then start selling into a Eurozone. Do you want to be selling into a population of 440 million with higher standards, or do you want to be selling into a population of 50 million? It's simple maths of which one's going to benefit you more. So in 2007, Slovenia's GDP grows 10%, 2008 6%, 2010 4%. In fact, we can even see the GNI, the gross national income, starts to exponentially increase, especially after 2007. And not just in Slovakia, we can also see it increasing in the Czech Republic. We can see here that GDP increases in both the Czech Republic and Slovakia, but also, interestingly, we also see that there's an increase in the AIC. AIC, actual individual consumption, is a measure of economic well-being. So it's another way of looking at the GDP. In 2009, we see Slovakia join the Eurozone. In 2016, more than 86% of Slovak exports went to the EU, and more than 50% of Slovak imports came from other European member states. And although there is an initial drop in exports within the first few years of 2009-10, we start to see from 2011 a huge increase in exports, almost doubling within 8 years. The Slovak economy is developing into a high-income economy, with the GDP per capita equaling 78% of the average of the European Union in 2018. That is a huge increase. And with this economic increase, we also start to see an improvement in citizens' lives. By 2021, 90% of Slovakian citizens own their own home. We also see a massive reduction in unemployment, which peaked in 1999 at 19%. By 2019, it's the lowest recorded rate in Slovak history. And by 2020, Slovakia is now ranked by the IMF as the 38th richest country in the world. The economy is one of the fastest growing economies in Europe and the third fastest in the Eurozone. Foreign direct investment has continued to increase. And what you've seen in the UK is a complete opposite. Foreign direct investment has started to decrease ever since Brexit. So when you hear all the naysayers coming from the UK, like Rees-Mogg or Boris or Gove, or even Douglas Ross, what you really need to be thinking about is, yeah, you'll have an economic downturn, maybe for 2 years. But in the long run, your exports are going to increase exponentially. Do you want to be controlled by Westminster and have no say in what takes place down there? Or do you want control of your own borders? Slovakia has a similar population size and a similar set of circumstances for Scotland to draw on in order to rejoin the EU, which will inevitably increase Scotland's economic standing in the world. There are difficulties to be had. How do you enforce a border between Scotland and England? But on a strange flip side, you'll have easier access to Northern Ireland. With other countries having shown the way for Scotland to be able to implement similar policies and strategies in joining the EU, you'll have learned from their mistakes and be able to grow quicker. And I'm in no doubt, as stated earlier, that the EU will do everything in its power to help Scotland in order to try and disprove the theory that Brexit is better for an economy. To summarise, in the long term, within a few years, Scotland's economy will start to grow, and it will grow quicker than England's. If ever there was a set of incentives economically to get Scotland back into the EU and claim for independence, this is it. Slovakia and the Czech Republic clearly show that being in the EU is a benefit. So to answer all the naysayers, to answer the question, can Scotland survive on its own? The answer is a resounding yes. Yes, we can. Remember the difference. With Brexit, you're putting up trade barriers. With Scottish independence and joining the EU, you're putting barriers down, increasing trade, and having more of a say in what takes place in your own lives. I hope you enjoyed my political observations this week. If you'd like to support me, please share the video with others and post about it on social media. If you're keen for more, subscribe, comment, like, and hit that notification button. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on Political X.